All right, folks. Let's try this again, and hopefully audio is better and whatnot. I see there's like one person in the player right now. Now we got some people coming on. Hopefully the audio is better and we're doing okay. I just sent Rob the link, so we'll be back on. Kiaria is the. Let me know when as you guys come in, the audio is better. And then let me know if it's like choppy or if anything wonky is going on. Send to your email. Yeah, Kiaria, let me know if the audio is better. Still choppy? You got to be kidding me. Hold on a second. Let me do this. All right, let's see if that's any better. Is that any better? It could have been a it absolutely positively could have been a let me know if there's audio now. Rob, you there?
I am here.
It could be Rob. It absolutely it's better. Okay.
Rob.
Reconnect. Yeah, reconnecting the Rode. I use a Rodecaster Pro for the audio, and it's a digital board. So sometimes something gets crazy and it gets all kinds of whack. Kim's saying it's still choppy on YouTube, but everybody's saying it's better. So for some folks it's good, and some people it's not. Rob, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Are you? I can't hear you, Rob. If you're here, because
wait, you can't hear me?
You have no audio.
I have no audio. It was fine before. What the hell?
It is a curse.
Oh, is this a curse? Fucking curse. How does it end up being a curse every time?
Shirt. Is that a? Oh, it's a Totoro shirt. That's good.
Yes, it is a Totoro shirt. Hey, check out my shirt. That was not my intention.
It says Rob sounds clear, but oh wait, do I not? Oh, I know why.
I know can't hear me. Everybody can hear me fine. Check out my cool Totoro shirt. That's Totorozilla.
All right, so we're all good. I can hear everybody. Everybody says something anyway. So, all right. So, Dirty Mind.
Wait. Hold on. Before we get started, I mean, we haven't started very well already as it is. Lemon lime Gatorade. What color is it?
It's well, it looks yellow. Looks yellow with a tint of green.
Okay, that is not helpful.
What was the purpose of that test?
I think it's green. So when I tell my kids to bring home, my kid or my wife or whoever, to bring home Gatorade, I'm like, bring home the green Gatorade. And they're like, there is no green Gatorade. It's yellow. I'm like, it's not yellow. It's green. It's lemon lime. It's green. So I just wanted to see.
Well,
and you did not help. You were like, oh, it's green and yellow.
No, I said it's yellow with a hint of green because it is.
Which is not useful. That's not helpful to me at all.
Okay. The lime part is green. What color do you think the lemon part is? Of the drink.
The mixture. The mixture itself is green.
Of the drink.
Green is more prominent than yellow. Okay, back to Dirty Mind.
All right, let's yeah, we should probably recap. Recap when we had discussions before. As I said, 1999 is my favorite album, front to back, and
we were talking about Dirty Mind though.
I know, and I said your go-to right out of the gate, Dirty Mind was your favorite album.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, back then, we're talking about 1980. I mean,
and you were 12. I was 12 also.
Right.
We've already established that we were 12 and probably too young to be listening to Dirty Mind. We've established that.
I didn't think I was, and I probably wasn't, to be honest. And you probably weren't either. I mean, we grew up a little bit faster than Yeah.
We were children of the 70s, so we had heard some shit.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we weren't too young to hear Dirty Mind at all. It's probably why we're still somewhere around 12 now in our in our growth. But no, Dirty Mind. I had heard "I Want to Be Your Lover," and I think I may have even seen Prince perform "I Want to Be Your Lover" on. Was it American Bandstand or was it Soul Train?
American Bandstand. I Want to Be Your Lover was American Bandstand, right?
I think it was, yeah. And I had seen him perform that.
Midnight Special also, I think.
Maybe.
Okay. I don't remember. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So anyway, I had seen him perform that, and I loved that song. I mean, that was my skating rink song. I love that song. It's like
I could never, so it was not my skating rink song. Listen, for those,
but then when Dirty Mind came out, I hadn't heard it. I hadn't heard anything on it. My mom, my crazy weird gypsy mom, was dating this guy who had kicked out his 17-year-old daughter, kicked her out of his house.
So we're going here.
Yeah, my crazy gypsy mom. And so anyway, he kicked her out of his house because she was gay. And she came to live with us for a while. And she came to live with us with her girlfriend. And let's just call them Wendy and Lisa. That's not their real names, but let's just call them that. So
going no place good. Go ahead.
So she kicked him out, and they came and they brought all their albums. They had all these really cool albums, and they brought Dirty Mind with them.
Of course.
And they used to talk about going to the clubs in Atlanta, because we were living in a way, way, way far suburb of Atlanta. Well, not even a suburb of Atlanta. We were so far away from Atlanta. We were living in a tiny, tiny town in South Georgia, 1,100 people, and like 100 Baptist churches. And, they brought Dirty Mind, and they would play it. They would talk about how they first heard the songs in the clubs and everything. And that just blew my mind. I listened to that album, and I had loved funk and dance music up to that point. And, but that album, they played that album, and first, the content, what he was talking about, is blowing my mind. And then just how funky and danceable it was. And not only that, just how all over the place it was. I mean, some songs on there, like the pop songs, like When You Were Mine, and, Got a Broken Heart Again. Oh my God. I just, that whole second side, I think I've worn out that whole second side. I've still got, she actually left the album with me. I've still got the original album.
That's a really good condition for the original album too.
It's not bad. That second side, I don't know how well it plays, because I played that second side over and over again.
You know what's crazy is that I am always the one holding the vinyl up to show the vinyl cover or CD or whatever it is. I don't know what the reasoning was or whatever, but for whatever reason, Dirty Mind is not up here. Nor is it on CD. No, I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if it was on cassette or what it was, but I don't have it. So literally, it just dawned on me. I have 2 copies of Controversy. I have like 3 copies of 1999. I don't know how many copies of Purple Rain. I have no copies of Dirty Mind, and I'm like, oh, I need to resolve this. Like immediately, I have to resolve this. I was like very, very shocked, because I mean, obviously when you have Uptown Radio, I'm hearing all this stuff all the time, so it's like Prince is in constant 24/7 rotation. And so it's not like but kudos that you have that vinyl. I'll just say that kudos, because that's pretty freaking awesome.
That's a travesty. I think I have it on every medium that it's available on, except for maybe digital audio tape, which lasted for like 10 minutes.
Yeah. I wonder if I can find it. You know what's funny is that I actually have the Batman sound for actually the Batman movie and Purple Rain on Laserdisc over here, and I keep going to Goodwill hoping that some Laserdisc player will show up on the thing. I'm like, I really would like. It's not like I can't see it. I could go anywhere. I can get it online and just watch it. But it was just like, I really want to see this on Laserdisc. And anyways, for those that don't know, this is or are just joining us too. This is my special co-host, Rob Rhythm. For those that don't know the history, this is my oldest friend on the planet. We've known each other since we were teenagers, young teenagers, and got in a lot of trouble together. And so here it is, decades later. So there's nobody anywhere, including my parents, that know more about me than this person right here. So, and that is very, very, that's disconcerting in a lot of ways because
parlaying that into some cash,
because he's going to call me out of my bowl. So if there's anything that I say that does not align with reality, he's going to be quick to correct it. Let's just
I gave up on that, man.
Yeah. So anyways, it's going to be great. We're going to have a lot of fun and the reason why I invited him on was because, again, Dirty Mind was his absolute number one go-to favorite album. And with it being the anniversary of the album today, 44 years. Can you believe it's been 44 years? That's ridiculous. That's just nonsensical. So
yeah, I can.
Yeah, you can believe it. Yeah, well, maybe. Like
I said, I was 12. I remember being 12 and hearing this album.
Oh boy, Purple Nerd. He says Rob's got some Mr. Christopher stories.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
Sorry, I was just looking at the part on the inside where he talks about all the inside cover where he talks about all the people he thanks and everything. And one of the people he thanks is Joni. At the very end, he says, Joni and you. And yeah. Joni just put out, I just got it today.
The new
bunch of archive stuff from her Hajira series, and I'm seriously excited about that. And I probably would have never listened to Joni if it weren't for Prince. So
you know what's crazy about that is that I love the songs that I've heard on the radio. I literally have not listened to a Joni Mitchell album from front to back. And it's not just because there's no reason. There literally is. I know that I'm not alone. If anybody's honest with themselves in the chat room, I know that I'm not alone. I like Joni. I like her style and everything, but I've never remember last time we were in Minneapolis, I actually bought one of her albums.
You bought like one of the most popular albums with the song on it that was her biggest hit on the radio, which she didn't really do radio stuff. So
yeah. Well,
yeah, you bought Court and Spark, and I think it might have even been one of the original.
It was,
yeah, one of the original pressings, and I was like, why are you doing that? You don't even care.
Well, I do care because I do feel like, obviously Prince had his finger on the pulse of really great, strong songwriters. And I was like, I really need to stop and pay attention to. I think she is a songwriters. I always say this: if you're a songwriter, if you're really good with music theory and things like that, and song structure, she really appeals to a lot of musicians just because of the fact of the way that she structures songs and her lyrical content are very in-depth and descriptive, and that's what I appreciated just about the songs that I know. So it was just like I just need to I really need to, at some point in time, put some on and, play it in the background and just kind of absorb it, because when I had Andre Simone on the show a month ago, he said the same thing, that Prince turned him on to Joni Mitchell and he became like a hardcore fan. And I'm just like, this is really interesting that you got two people that are really, hardcore into music that is very not Joni Mitchell. And to be a huge fan of her like that. So I'm like, I've got to be missing something. I have to be missing something. So I feel like that's the reason why I bought it. When I had Court and Spark, I'm like, this is an original. This is cool. Let me get it. I'm going to take a listen to it. And so I promise you tomorrow, I'm going to put it on and I'm going to take a listen. I'm just going to absorb it. I'm going to take it in and see. I mean, if there are Joni Mitchell fans out there like yourself, just please send me a list, or maybe even construct a list of some songs that you really feel like I need to hear. Maybe send me a Spotify playlist or something. I would love to. I am all about discovering new music, and I love it when I go, God, where have I been? Why have I missed this? And I just kind of feel like I completely missed the boat on Joni.
And this just shows you how much he really listens to his good friends. So I've been telling him this shit
well,
for 30 years.
You realize you do realize that you always had a jump on music, on certain bands and artists that you knew that I would like before I did. And you would say, you really need to listen to this, and be like, okay. And then I would never do it. And then when I eventually broke down and listened, I was like, oh yeah. What was it? Brand New Heavies is a good example. Brand New Heavies, you had their debut album like probably the day it came out. And you were like, dude, you really need to check out Brand New Heavies. This is unbelievable. And I was just like, okay. And then finally I did it. And I was just like, oh, this is unreal. So yeah. Lauren says, who liked The Fix first? That'd be you. That would be me.
Yeah, you turned me on to The Fix.
Yeah, The Fix. The Fix is one of these bands that you can't really. It's kind of very, very similar to Prince, not musically. Very, very similar to Prince in the way that the stuff that they play on the radio is not their best material. So it's just not their best material. Yeah, so I was definitely the hardcore.
I'd say the same about Prince as far as I'm concerned.
I think we both became Prince fans about the same time, but obviously separate from each other. Because I came in on his. Well, I did not know Prince on For You. When For You came out, I wasn't vibing at all. Not because I didn't like it. It's just because I hadn't heard it.
Maybe it was because you were 8.
It could be because I was 8. No, I was 10. Because I came out 10. I was 10. I wasn't really, about For You at that point.
That would have been a deep cut to find.
Yeah, and I do remember hearing a track from the second album. I do remember. I want to be your lover. I do remember hearing tracks and going, I like that. I wasn't running again. I was 11 when that came out, and I was like running to the store and go, Mom, can I? The naked guy and the horse. Can I get that one? I wasn't doing that one. But just like you, when Dirty Mind came out, I was just like, oh, this is really, really cool. But I didn't have the album. I didn't own that album at that time. The album.
How did you hear it?
I heard it. Somebody had played. It was on a Detroit radio station. I had heard Uptown.
Okay.
And I was just like, wow, that's a great song. But then when we got here to Atlanta, and Controversy was everywhere here in Atlanta. That whole album, I ended up with a cassette copy of that album, and I wore Controversy out. I was like, I am nonstop. That Controversy was completely and totally 100% in constant rotation. I could not get enough of Controversy. And then of course, by nature, I went back to Dirty Mind. It was like, oh yeah, I've got to absorb this. Ooh, that sister thing's kind of weird. I'm an only child, so it's really not connecting, but I get it, and that's kind of weird. Uh, but then when 1999 came out, I was like, holy cow, this is it. I'm totally friggin' vibing. Totally vibing with 1999. And then it just, from there, it was just like, we're off to the races at that point. And then, of course, that was actually the 1999 tour was actually the first tour that I saw, and saw it, but didn't see it. Was running around with my mother's coworker's friend. We were there at the concert. We saw it. We watched it, but we were being kids, you know.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Hanging out in the lobby, going back and forth, kind of, you know, blah 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 blah, da 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 da. And then, of course, that all changed with Purple Rain, and I think we saw a lot of tours together.
Yeah.
The front row of Love Sexy was the bomb, though.
That was
which was total happenstance, obviously, because you couldn't pick out your seats back in those days. You just said, "I want two seats." You just say, "I want two seats," and you were like, "Dominus, please go. Just give me a good seat. I don't see it wherever." I don't know what I would do. I mean, anyways, to get front row seats, that was just unreal to me that we managed to do that after the tickets had already been on sale for however long they were already on sale. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Dirty Mind, shall we? Let's talk about this, because this album, again, what a great album. Obviously, we're going to talk. First off, let me go ahead and say this. Everybody knows that I have done an album chat of Prince's albums for all of his albums, with the exception of like a handful of them, like News, I didn't do one. And Expectation, I didn't do one. Just because of the primary reason for that is because they're instrumental albums. And so there's not really a lot of stories to tell. There's not a bunch of, there's not a lot of background. The point of the album chats was to give you a little bit of historical background on each one of the albums, and then talk about each one of the songs, what they mean, who was playing, maybe some of the stories behind them. And just very, very bluntly, there's no stories really much that kind of go with, the News album and some of the more instrumental albums. It's like there's no stories to tell. But I was listening. What's funny is that my album chat for Dirty Mind has been on SoundCloud for a few years now. And apparently I uploaded one that was like, as I was kind of working it out. So all the errors and everything are on the Dirty Mind album chat. So I'm like, so what I would do is I would sit and talk, and I would just talk off the top of my head about the background story behind the song. And then I would sit, and if I felt like I was messing up or I was just not saying something right, I would stop for a second and I would go, Matt. And then I would be silent. And then I would start again. And so this album chat that's out there now on SoundCloud is literally an hour of just complete and total train wreck. The songs aren't in there. It's just me talking, and then like a lot of times, meh, and then and then I start over. It's like it's a train wreck. The point of all this being, I'm going to be redoing the album chats starting next week, and I'm going to be doing them live. So next week, I'm going to be doing an album chat, starting with the very first album for you. There's going to be some album chats I'm not going to redo over again, like some of the later ones when I eventually got the vibe or whatever. But I think like the first 4 or 5 albums, I'm going to be redoing the album chats live with you guys here, starting next week with For You. So we're going to start with that first album, and you're just going to it's going to be fun. You're going to be along for the ride. And this is kind of what we're doing tonight, is going to be doing the album chat for Dirty Mind, kind of, sort of. We're going to be talking about the details of Dirty Mind, but at the same time, it's not really an album chat. Maybe it'll have enough substance where it could technically be an album chat, but I did want to kind of put this stuff together and start there. So first off, Dirty Mind, when it came out, it came out in 1980. Obviously today, October 8th, 1980. I still can't believe it's been 44 years. And the critics loved it. They were a little bit shocked by it because you had two albums before you and then the self-titled album, which were both kind of, they had some upbeat songs, but for the most part, they were like R&B type of albums, for lack of a better description. You know, they weren't Dirty Mind. You know what I'm saying? They weren't that. And then all of a sudden this album came out and Prince just kind of felt like he finally was in a place where he was actually had created an album that was a great, I guess, what's the word I'm trying? It really kind of defined him in a way musically. He kind of felt like, I'm able to really communicate the way that I want to. This is a style of music that I like. But was really kind of interesting and a little bit funny about this album is that this is, and you remember this from being a kid, even when we were kids, we remember the disco sucks era where disco was on the way out and like people were really anti-disco. And so you can tell that there's this little kind of balancing act that Prince does where he's like, I kind of want to make things danceable, but at the same time, I kind of want to make sure that it's still going to be very much me. So you're going to be able to kind of understand the direction that I'm going in, which he did continue with Controversy, but with this particular album, it was totally different from anything that he had done previously. And one of the quotes that he said, when I brought it to the record company, it shocked a lot of people, obviously. He said, but they didn't ask me to go back and change anything, and I'm really grateful. Anyway, I wasn't being deliberately provocative. I was just being deliberately me. And that's what he told Rolling Stone. So I would think that's a pretty good definition of what this album is. It was obvious from that statement that when he put these songs together and when he was constructing Dirty Mind, that he definitely was trying to shock people. I mean, do you agree? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. No, that's, you know, it's funny when I think about it in context of For You and the second one that was just self-titled. He got his record contract when he was 18. Right?
Yeah.
And he not only performed those songs, he wrote them and managed the whole process. Like, no one does that. No one allows that. And I think that those first two albums were him trying to figure out how to make his whole vision successful in the marketplace. And, you know, he did it when he got to that self-titled album with I Want to Be Your Lover. I mean, that was a big hit for, you know, that album and for him. And so I think that kind of gave him the opportunity to say, I think that those two were kind of like his feeling it out and figuring out who he was, and then him synthesizing everything. Because I feel like those first two albums, you listen to them and you hear, oh, well, this is kind of a pop song, this is a rock song, this is you know, a ballad, this is kind of a funky song, this is a dancing song. And I feel like with Dirty Mind, he kind of synthesized all of the things that he could do into his own sound. And that's one of the things I love about Dirty Mind. He took everything that he could do and made something new out of it. And you know, I remember listening to that album even as young as I was, and then, you know, a few years later listening to it again, and I remember thinking, this album is going to change music, period. It's going to change pop music. And I definitely think you can make an argument that it did. I mean, you know, people talked about sex in songs before, in music and in popular music. I mean, it was always there, but it was never there like that. Now, maybe it's gone too far now, I don't know. But if Prince hadn't have taken those steps out the moon, out the out of the pod on the moon to make that happen, I don't think everybody else would be out in space with where they went with songwriting nowadays. I do think Prince was more clever with it, and I do think he meant to shock people. Absolutely, I think, and we've talked to some people. We've done, you've done some interviews, and we've done some interviews, and we've talked to some people about what a good marketer he was, how smart he was when it came to the music business. So, but yeah, that's one of the things about Dirty Mind. Not only is it a great album, it's also a great piece of it's a great popular statement that made a difference. I don't think it did as well as it could have, because there were so many people who just didn't get it. But like you said, the critics loved it.
Yeah, it was, John Wesley Payne, basically just said punk rock, and it was actually rock. It was
Totally.
It was funk, but at the same time, it had that new wave. A lot of people don't know this, and I find it really strange that this relationship existed.
That right there is punk rock.
That's punk. That's new wave. That's rude boy. Yeah, that's exactly what that is.
Yeah, I remember looking at that going, those are some badass people.
What's interesting is that, again, a lot of people don't know this, but he actually had a very, very close relationship with Gary Newman, which many of you guys may remember from In Cars. So he actually had a really deep respect for Gary, and they talked quite a bit. So there was already this, but Prince was trying to do something a little bit different with the way that he was trying to kind of create this version of funk that nobody had really heard. I mean, and on top of that, he was very impressionable at that point. I mean, he was a teenager throughout the 70s, and he was absorbing all that 70s funk as it was in the 70s.
Yeah.
Not what funk kind of became and morphed into in the 80s, which we loved, but the core root grunge funk. But he was like, okay, now how do I take this? And you used a word that is very interesting. You used, but you weren't using it in the way that was interesting to me. Synthesized, because he literally did synthesize it. He took funk and added that synth element to it, where it just became, he was taking that synthesizer from the new wave world and bringing it into funk. And I think literally he changed funk into that 80s funk that we know, because everybody at that point, he recreated funk. Basically, he recreated the sound of funk, and then everybody was chasing him at that point. Everybody was chasing him. It was like, okay, how can we recreate what he's done? How can we get that sound? And he knew that he had that sound locked in. That's the reason why all that stuff went down with Jam and Lewis when they were working with SOS Band. And he was just like, his concern, whether it wasn't necessarily that they were working with somebody else, even though that was the stated concern, but it was also very much well documented that his concern was that they were going to take his sound and apply it to somebody else and make some type of cookie cutter version of what essentially he created, which was that synth funk sound. And there was nothing else like it. And then he perfected it and then he kind of built a little bit more onto it on Controversy. And then by 1999, I mean, that was, we were done at that point. It was just done. I mean, he had mastered that sound, and he had recreated his whole entire, I mean, it's just the reality of it. But it's funny also that you mentioned the shock value of this, because it also was the reasoning why Gail Chapman stepped away from this band at this point, because a lot of people aren't aware of this, but even back then in 1980, Prince was constantly moving and trying to recreate or trying to create these little spin-off projects, and he was working on that project called The Rebels. We talked about, a lot of people didn't know this, but the Rebels were a thing. And then all of a sudden he kind of started working on some of this material with Dirty Mind. He presented it to the band, and if I remember the story correctly, Gail Chapman did not like the content of where he was going. Didn't like specifically, if I remember correctly, specifically the song Head. She did not want to be that female. I'm just a virgin and I'm on my way to be wed. She didn't want to be that girl. She was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And so she stepped out, and then Lisa stepped in. And once Lisa stepped in, that song, and then it's over. It's I mean, at this point you have the core, you essentially have the core of the band at this point in time, which would, it start evolving at that point into the Revolution. I mean, you got a couple new players that stopped. Bobby Z stayed, Fink stayed, Lisa stayed, but you start, then all of a sudden this new nucleus of a band starts to happen, and it's just, it's a totally different thing. What's interesting is some of the ways that the critics, kind of had a little bit to say. My favorite quote is the one from rock critic Robert Christgau from Village Voice, who said, Mick Jagger should just fold up his penis and go home. What, such a weird thing to say, but it was just kind of like, I guess at that point in time, the Rolling Stones and Mick Jagger, they were the ones that were kind of being, a little bit raunchy, and this was like on some other level. This was like, okay, that's what you were referring to. It's like there was lots of sexual connotations throughout a lot of different artists, like the Rolling Stones. And I think somebody in the chat room had also mentioned that too, was that he was, very heavily influenced by that, because they had opened and were the opening act for the Rolling Stones. So that impressionable part of that was still there. And then on top of that, you add in the fact that he had just gotten off a tour before Dirty Mind. He had just gotten off of tour with Rick James. So you got opening up for Rolling Stones, opening up for Rick James, and you take that and you put it into a blender and you end up with Dirty Mind. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, because he was constantly influenced externally by a lot of different things, whether it be the content of a song or, just the sounds and things that he was absorbing. And, obviously Rick James was not a fan of the music, because when Rick James heard this album, the quote was, and I have it written down here, Prince is a mentally disturbed young man. He's out to lunch. You can't take his music seriously. He's singing songs about oral sex and incest. So, I mean, if somebody is...
It's so funny to hear Rick James say stuff like that.
Right. I'm sorry. As far as we know, Prince didn't have people tied up in his basement. So can we get this? I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I just think it's kind of, it's funny that
he's thinking about my stuff.
And I don't, and again, when you hear quotes like that from Rick James, this isn't coming from a place of, you guys need to be careful about this. This is coming from a place of competition. This is, this is okay. Because if you look at the albums that came out from Rick James after that, was like, he went into the band room and was like, okay, time out. We got to restructure some stuff here. Not that Rick James was a monster anyways. But it's, I don't know. I don't know. I'll let you talk for a couple of seconds as far as what you think the impressionability. This is probably not a word. Impressionability. That's not a word. Of Rick James and Rolling Stones, and the end result of which was Dirty Mind, as far as the songwriting process and the influences of being out in that touring world probably had on this album.
I think, again, I think that I do think Prince saying that it was him, that he wasn't trying to shock people, which I don't believe, but that he was just putting something together that was him. I believe that the music was definitely him. I believe that him wanting to write and talk about sex was definitely him. Um, you know, pushing the envelope, I think was him, but I think he knew what he was doing. I think he was intentionally trying to shock because it would help him sell his albums. It would he had already come to the idea that we all know now is that there's no publicity that's bad publicity. It's all good. Any publicity is good publicity.
Right.
So for him, I think that he was a sponge, that he learned from the Stones. He learned from Pepe Willie. Am I getting that right? He learned from anybody he'd ever played with. Any other musician, any music. He learned from Rufus and Shaka Khan. I mean, anybody. He pulled what he heard together, and like any great artist, took it and made it his, and made it a part of the time at the same time. And I think that Dirty Mind was the first album that was truly the total synthesis of all of that together. And
I think that Rick James, going back to Rick James, that he was then at that point in time, once Dirty Mind came out, and he realized that Prince had kind of found the formula that he was probably going to use moving forward. Rick James kicked it up into a whole different realm at that point, because then because the next album from Rick James at that point came out in 1981, which was Street Songs, which, I mean, Street Songs had Give It To Me Baby on it, Super Freak, Ghetto Life. I mean, he was just like, and Street Songs is like probably one of Rick James' best albums. I really think that the release of this album really put a fire under Rick James' butt. And because he just kept on firing off on all cylinders. And then it became this competition of going back and forth between these two. And, then you have the Vanity Six versus Mary Jane Girls and all that stuff that happened with that, Rick James claiming that, he had stolen that idea from him. And he probably did. Who knows? That when you beat somebody to the punch, you beat somebody to the punch. I mean, it's just the reality of it. But
I think that's a lot of it is just what you just said there. He beat him to the punch. Like, Rick James is like, I've been out here doing this all this time, and some upstart kid just comes out and kind of he takes my shtick and does it better.
It's kind of, let's see if we can get a little bit more raunchy. Let's see what we can kind of figure out. But so let's talk about the tracks on this Dirty Mind album. And we kind of talked a little bit about the background / history of this. But when you start off with the song Dirty Mind, and maybe I will make this into a little bit of an album chat, because we are going a little bit deep into some of the history and some of the outgoing stuff that was going on. But the opening track is Dirty Mind. And this song is probably, what's interesting about this album is a few things. It's the first album, with the exception of, I'm trying to remember the name of the song. Chris Moon's involvement with Soft and Wet. So there's not a whole bunch of co-credits going out in regards to Prince. Chris Moon on Soft and Wet was probably the first. And then that didn't really happen again until this album, when there's not one, but two songs on this album that were actually written by other people. Now, one was written by Morris Day, and of course, he just took the song and claimed it as his, and Morris went uncredited. We'll get to that. That's the closer. Party Up. We'll get to that. But the other thing too is that Dirty Mind, the title track and opening track to this album, the keyboard riff pretty much throughout the song was written by Dr. Fink. And they had done a jam session doing, I guess, obviously it's Prince and the band and whatever, and they're kind of just doing whatever. And Fink comes up with this keyboard riff for Dirty Mind. And Prince recorded it on a boombox. I guess they had a boombox. You remember the days of boombox? You press record and play and just, hope for the best or whatever. But apparently Fink had stumbled upon this keyboard riff that Prince really, really liked. And according to the story, he kind of calls Fink up and says, I really want to revisit this. And they do. And they go and they start working it out. And surprisingly enough, Prince graciously gave him co-credit on this, which is not a very princely thing to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you look at, looking forward in the years, there's plenty of times where people had come up with riffs and there's even an example on this album where somebody had written something and did not get credit for it. We'll get to that. But yeah, I think it's, Dirty Mind is, I think, a perfect opening track for this because it's the title track. It's really kind of self-explanatory, but it's also really kind of neat to know that Fink has got a co-credit on this thing. And a lot of people don't know that because a lot of people don't read it. So anyways, so you got the opening track of Dirty Mind. And of course, if I'm going to turn this into an album chat, I will play that song now. Not going to do it here, but if this was an album chat, that's where I would play it.
Well, if it helps, I'm already listening to it in my head.
There you go.
But the one thing so
go ahead. Let's talk about Dirty Mind.
That song actually is a great example of the way Prince viewed music, in my opinion, because that song is very dramatic.
Yeah.
That song starts out, it's almost like the opening credits for a movie, just with the boom, doom, doom. And it just starts out with the bass and the drums. It starts out with the drums and then just builds and builds. Then those keyboards come in, and then it takes you into the story. And it's a story. I mean, that first song is a story. And that song is such a great start to what the whole album is going to be. I mean, it really kind of, it sets you up to say, okay, I'm taking you on a ride.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things I love about Dirty Mind it may not be a perfect album, but it is a perfect encapsulation. It is a perfect piece of art in that it starts here. It has a first act, a second act, and a third act, and a finale. And, it's not very many albums, very many pieces of art can do that. And
right.
That's what I love about this album so much, is that it's got that powerful thing that touches you. Even if it is just talking about sex most of the time, but it's not just talking about sex. But a lot of it's about sex, and it's called Dirty Mind. So what do you expect?
Sir Jackson brings up a good point here. He said Rick James stole Prince's synthesizer on the Fire It Up tour and created the Street album. So, and here's what's interesting about this is that, so this was written about. This has been confirmed and then denied. So it was confirmed by Rick James himself, assuming that he wrote it in his biography. Because I think there was a co-writer on that biography where he had used the keyboard, the synthesizer, and then gave it back to him with a note attached to it, said, Thanks, mother. Thanks, mother. And
Sorry,
then,
I broke it.
and then I guess it was last year, and it was last year I had all of the Stone City Band on the show, and I asked them about that tour, and I asked them about that rumor about the synthesizer, and they were like, "That never happened." I was like,
Oh,
Rick said it happened, and they was like, "That never happened." I was like,
Hmm.
all right, well, I don't know where you go then. I don't know where you go with that when you got the Stone City Band going. That didn't happen, but yet it's there in Rick's biography. It says it's there. So okay, whatever. We'll just kind of take it as it is. So that was Dirty Mind, and then it brings us to the next song on the album, When You Were Mine. And here's what's interesting is that I was not aware of how many bands have covered this song.
Oh yeah.
Obviously the biggest one that covered it was Cyndi Lauper. Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Cyndi Lauper. And it was on that album.
How many Cyndi Laupers are there?
Just the one. Good. I
just wanted to clarify.
Did I insinuate there were more than one?
Well, you said Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Cyndi Lauper. It kind of made me think maybe there's more. I don't know.
Just like the Purple Rain Prince.
Right. That one.
Gotcha. Yeah. I got you. I understand now. So Cyndi Lauper covered it on her She's So Unusual album. And then, of course, she also did it a couple other times, too, actually, posthumously after he passed away. She covered it again. She did it again. She did it, but also was covered by Mitch Ryder. Also, the Spice Girls. I was not aware of this. The Spice Girls actually use a large portion of When You Were Mine in one of their songs. Roxy Music actually uses a big portion of it in their song Avalon. It's also been covered by Andy DeFranco, Tegan and Sarah, and there's a band that you may or may not know. They've been around for, I don't know how long, about a decade or so, a band called Lake Street Dive. So there's been a lot of bands that have covered this song, which is kind of unusual. But here's the thing I like about When You Were Mine is not just the pop sensibilities of the song, because it's just so da 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 da. It's just so poppy and feel good, but then there's these really messed up lyrics in the middle of it. Never one to make a fuss when he was sleeping in between the two of us. You kind of like sing it for all those years, and then one day you happen to be in the right frame of mind to catch it, and you're like, wait a minute. He's sleeping in between the two of us. It's just one of I love how he just kind of like drops these little sleeper lyrics into the songs that you're just kind of like, wait, what was just said? Like, my favorite sleeper lyric is from I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man, when the lyric is, he left her with a baby and another one on the way. That's a sleeper lyric because it's a song about this woman hitting on him. And what you don't realize during the whole song is that she's pregnant. she's pregnant during this song. You left her with the baby and another one on the way. She's pregnant during this whole song. And it's like, that's a sleeper lyric. That's one of these things where you just kind of, I dropped this little mini grenade into the middle of the song and hope that, maybe they'll pick that up. We'll see. We'll see if they pick this one up. But yeah, it's just these weird, I don't know. All that being said, this is like one of these pop songs. And matter of fact, when you were talking about these, the songs that really stood out to you, this is one of the ones that you mentioned. That you were less like, oh, and that song, and then you threw your head back. What is it about this song that just kind of that is so appealing to you?
So okay. So
here we go. Oh, there's a story.
Actually, this song was not appealing to me when I was a kid. This was the song that I skipped. I would literally go over. Yeah, literally go over and pull the little needle up and move it past.
I thought when you were going through the album, you said, "Oh, and when," or did I get it confused with another track? What track was it that you were, or maybe it was Broken Heart again? Maybe another song I just confused it with. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So to me, When You Were Mine, it's a great song. I'm not denying that, and I definitely appreciate it. And I even appreciated it then, but back then I was really more into songs like Dirty Mind or Uptown, or pretty much the whole second side. But I wanted to hear the funkier songs, and that was a very poppy song to me. And I actually liked pop, but I don't know, for whatever reason I wanted to get past that song. I did like it because I thought it was funny, and it was one of those songs. No, it is. It's a hilarious song, really. I mean,
what's hilarious about When You Were Mine?
Just the way he talks about it. Just that he's such a dumbass here, letting his girl screw this other guy in the same bed with him and shit. I mean, it is. It's a funny song. I think it was one of the times when he was like, his sense of humor came out. But I did. I would skip that song almost every time, just because it does go with the album, but for me, it kind of like gives an opportunity to kind of like pull back a little bit from that really strong Dirty Mind first song, and then give you an opportunity to get into Do It All Night and Got a Broken Heart Again, which are a little softer, before it gets onto side 2, which is just so heavy, straightforward, funky, just really strong, right in your face.
So you're kind of saying it's like Delirious was to 1999, where you go from 1999 into Delirious, and you're like, Mommy, why does everybody have a bomb? Beep 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 beep. Okay. All right.
It was, but it is. I mean, you listen to it, and like the sense, the approach and everything is, yeah.
I mean, everybody's like, I think everybody's kind of feeling your vibe when you say side 2, man. Yeah, side 2 is absolutely the yeah. Okay, so yeah, so there's When You Were Mine.
Do It All Night is amazing. I mean, the last other 2 songs on there, Do It All Night and Got a Broken Heart Again.
Right. Well, and so let's talk about that song, Do It All Night. Do It All Night. Surprisingly enough, when they did this tour, he liked this song a lot. And according to, I did not see this tour. I've heard a thing, but this was the first song that they played on this tour. On every single show. This was the opening track. And according to Newsweek did an article that listed Prince's best screams. I think this was, I don't remember when that came out. It was like,
oh yeah, I know. I remember seeing that.
Yeah, it was.
Hold on, I have this show. I don't remember that. Go ahead.
It was number 22 on Prince's best screams, according to Newsweek. So I guess it has. I was trying to remember exactly when he screamed, because like my favorite Prince screams, we might have to do like a special on this. My favorite Prince scream is probably, it's on 1999 for sure. God, there's so many great screams, aren't there? There's like so many great screams, but I wouldn't put this up there. I mean, it's number 22, but I don't know. Anyway,
screams. Sorry.
Yes. Okay. It was, but also
I was looking up the shows though. I was like looking up, like I've got some shows from 81 and 82, and they start with Uptown. So you're saying that most of the time they were starting with Got a Broken Heart. I'm sorry, Do It All Night.
Yeah, according and on top of that, they also said that the last time that it was played, I'm some of this information comes off of Prince Vault, which is starting to be notoriously incorrect at a lot of things.
Gotcha.
Which is kind of which is really shocking, because the minds behind Prince Vault are like really hardcore historians. Kind of, this is blah 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 blah. But anyways, yeah, it was the last time this song was played was in 1981. Was on this tour. They just didn't. It was not really brought out again. I know that there were probably. It seems like I remember one of the Prince piano and a microphone tours that this song came out. This was done, like at least an excerpt of it. It seems like. All right, but anyways, so let's fast forward past "Do It All Night" and go to.
No. Hold on. I mean, "Do It All Night" is a great song. I mean, "Do It All Night" is another one of those songs where I feel like you get a sense of all of the elements that Prince is putting into this album, because "Do It All Night" has that keyboard part is very reminiscent of older songwriting from like the 50s and 60s, and just the way that comes together and the way he takes that and then turns it into a new kind of pop music that isn't, it's almost like a rockabilly kind of thing. And again, it's him taking all of that stuff that he'd taken in from all of his different all of the different things that he loved, and turned it into his own sound. So like even that song, it seems like a throwaway song, but I also think it's another one of those songs where you really get a sense of everything that he can do. It again, to me, Dirty Mind is kind of like his, like, I can do all this and I can make it my own. And it's kind of like his announcement, here we go. You know, it's his launch. And
yeah, there's a couple. Well, first off, we got a couple of people out here that said, first off, Dave has got it right. "Something in the Water" was my favorite scream off of 1999. Absolutely, that is that going from singing into the scream, right? Oh, that's like amazing. Also, I was corrected, right? David makes it. Little Red Corvette is after 1999, not Delirious. You're correct. But then, yeah. Delirious is that song though for me, where it's kind of like this poppy kind of thing that probably shouldn't be there. I get it; it's radio friendly. I get it. I totally get it. But it kind of just, the vibe is just totally off with Delirious for me. But I still listen to it. The extended version probably could have done without. But yeah,
I think I used to skip Delirious too.
Yeah. Let's see, who else is somebody else said something. Yeah, DMSR had a good scream. Yeah, a couple people have said "Something in the Water." Yeah, that's the best scream. No, I would say, "Do you want him? Do you want?" Yeah, that's probably a good one too. There's so many freaking great screams. That's
yeah.
Really got to get to the bottom of that. All right, so yeah, and I think the thing that's probably another good thing about "Do It All Night" is the instrument drops, the bam, the bam. It's just that and everybody, it's the way it's kind of just pounding, and every, the keyboard slide drops and everything. It's very different. It's just a very, very different song. It's not the standard. They're like sliding on the 3 down into the 4. It's a really, really cool track, because it's just got this. It's just got bounce and slide to it. That's very, very different from anything that's there. Of course, again, which takes us into "Got a Broken Heart Again," which is, as you know, because you're holding the vinyl there, it's the last song on side A before we get to the notorious side 2. There's like, so tell me your feelings about "Got a Broken Heart Again." I mean, obviously, it's the closest thing to a slow song that there is on this, because there is no slow song on "Dirty Mind."
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, "Got a Broken Heart Again" is a it's like a mid, it's like a mid
It's more of
Yeah.
like a strolling type of song.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, but it's also very, that song is very, again, it's an opportunity for us to see the emotion that Prince can bring to a song, and again, kind of like his statement that yeah, I can sing these ballads that can make you cry, and again, it's not super deep, but the emotion in his voice definitely comes through in the lyrics. It they match, they meet up, the lyrics and the way he sings it comes together in a way that few artists can do. I mean, you hear some artists who can write these amazing lyrics, but when they sing them, you don't feel that emotion underneath. And with this, you feel it. But it's still, it's not a I'm gonna die kind of, got a broken heart again. It's still a got a broken heart again.
Diane makes a good point. Diane said Prince had a lot of old school in him. He had to throw in a slow song to rest, but he didn't on this album. This album had no slow songs on it. But what's interesting about this is that really this is the first album where he is comfortable coming out from behind the falsetto. The first two albums are falsetto front to back.
Yeah.
And this is, while all these songs, starting from Dirty Mind to When You're Mine, Do It All Night, Got a Broken Heart Again, even the singing in Uptown is still kind of falsetto. But then when you start to get into, side two, just like he said, all of a sudden now he's using a regular singing voice in a lot of this stuff. And it kind of really opened up like, oh, now he's got range. And then by the time he gets to the Controversy album, he's just like, screw it, it's like he's wanting, just like he's proving that he can come hard. That sounds horrible, but he's proving that he
wants to be the only one you come for too.
But never would have served her coffee if he never served her cream. So anyways. So all right, so let's get on to the next. Let's get on to side two, which is before we get off on this. God, this keep on. They all right. The innuendo.
60s Motown slow vibe. I agree with that.
But, yeah. Here's the interesting thing is that Des Dickerson actually had a cassette tape that he tried to auction off, and on this cassette tape was this song. It was a cassette tape that Prince had given him. And it had this song, Got a Broken Heart Again. It also had So Blue. And it also had the beginning workings, surprisingly enough, the beginning workings of Sometimes It Snows in April, which didn't even show up till Parade.
Yeah.
And so it had the semblance of a lot of the components of Sometimes It Snows in April. And then on the flip side, there were 3 unreleased tracks that nobody had ever heard. And then I guess at one point in time, Des had grabbed the tape and started recording his own stuff over it because he was trying to find something to record on for something that he was working on. But so you had basically early versions of Got a Broken Heart Again, So Blue, and Sometimes It Snows in April. And the flip side, 3 unreleased tracks. I don't even know what the names of those were. And then some of Des Dickerson's early stuff. And he was trying to sell it for $20,000 at auction.
Wow.
And, which for hardcore Prince fans, who have deep pockets, and I know they're out there, it's a pretty good deal. To have songs that nobody's ever heard before in early versions and original ones that Prince had actually held in his hand and put on the tape and whatever, but it didn't sell. So Deza still has it. So if you want to reach out to him, if you have that kind of pocket,
yeah, I'll be calling him. Yeah.
Yeah, I won't be calling him. Yeah. Anyways, let's flip the vinyl over and go to side 2, which starts with Uptown.
Uptown.
The first, technically, this is that track that I was referring to when we first started talking about this, where it contains writing credit to somebody that did not get credit, which was Andre Cymone. Andre Cymone is the one responsible for the bass guitar riff on this song, and he did not get credit for it. And it became a really it became a point of contention between Andre Cymone and Prince, because he kind of felt like, dude, I wrote, that's my bass line and you've now taken it. And this kind of goes to, I don't want to fast forward too much, but we're going to fast forward to like 2015. So that's about as much fast forward as you can as far as Prince is concerned. But he started going through this process of making good on a lot of things that he kind of felt like were well-known pieces of like this, points of contention where people just kind of felt some sort of way, and he was just kind of trying to make things right. A couple of examples. I think I talked about some of these things in a previous broadcast not too long ago. There's a couple of broadcasts, like for instance, Morris Day and the Time not being paid for some other previous gigs, and he actually paid them exactly what they were asking for to have them come play at Paisley Park. This was something that was covered on Mike Judge's Tales from the Tour Bus, where Morris said he actually paid us what we were asking for. And then afterwards, actually gave him, Prince was in the hallway and actually gave him a round of applause and said, man, that was really, really great. And he gave him a hug and told him he loved him. And so it was like, Morris was like, he actually started to tear up because he was like, I'm not sure exactly what's happening here. And then you have the thing with Tamar. Tamar, he wrote the album Milk and Honey with Tamar. And before he passed, he actually sent Tamar the rights to the entire album. Said, here you go, it's yours. So like all these things were kind of like he was like tying up loose ends, which was really, really strange. And to kind of bring it back full circle, Andre Cymone, when he was on the show here, he said that Prince actually went into the system and changed it so that he was the co-writer to this song. And he actually fixed a lot of the co-writing credits on stuff that Andre was on, and actually fixed it. And so all of a sudden Andre started getting these checks, these royalty checks. And he was like, wow, what's happening here? And then after Prince died, the estate went in and removed all those co-writing credits. You can believe that. So, and that's all stories that Andre had told when he was just on the show a month ago. So shocking, not shocking, not shocking, but it's kind of interesting that this is one of those songs during this period of time when it was released. This was one of these credit things where Andre had written the bass guitar riff and he was never given credit for it. And what's also interesting about this is that the whole point of them fighting this disco sucks thing, and they were trying to kind of stay away from disco, is that this track was actually on the disco charts. That's not why they created it, but I guess it does have a legit disco feel to it. And it ended up on the disco chart. And, I think that's kind of interesting as well. But anyways, your thoughts on Uptown, because this is the beginning to your fave side too.
I actually, you were talking about that being played in the clubs. I actually remember the girls that were staying with us talking about dancing to that song in the clubs, dancing to Uptown. And that song, for whatever reason, it didn't hit me initially. I don't know why, but of course I always listened to it because it was the first song at second side. So, but that song, what I love about that song is, again, it goes back to Prince's storytelling and sense of humor. So he starts out with a little bit of a story with Dirty Mind, and he's kind of telling a story, all throughout, different little stories here that kind of all fit within this idea of songs about sex and love. And Uptown about going out and meeting people when you're out. And the scene that he describes, that always got me. And especially because those girls were living with me at the time, and they were talking about being in the club and dancing to this song. That was what I always pictured. So I always imagined, this crazy scene, white, black, Puerto Rican, everybody just a freaking, just.
and the are you gay? And the are you gay? The question: are you gay? No. Are you? Of course, if you ever heard him play the song live, he always go. They would say, "Are you gay?" And he said, "No." Is your mama?
Right.
He would always do that live. So
what's great about that line is that it's like when you're like I said, I was 12, so when you're 12, it's like that's like calling somebody out, or that's a derogatory thing. In this, it's just part of the story. It's like she just wants to get things straight, literally, before she's like checking him out. She's like, he's all right, hope he's not gay. So she just asked him straight out. And then the rest of the story can go on. It's not a derogatory thing. It's just like, we've got to get on the same page.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So anyways, this is a great opening track to the second side, because then from here on out, it just kind of goes into this. It really dips into the controversy with the next track, which is Head. And we had talked about this at the beginning of it, where we talk about how this was a song really that Gail Chapman was kind of like, yeah, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this bride thing, which I kind of find surprising, because everything that Gail had done up to this point, as far as some of the stuff that I had heard, some of the live shows and some of the insanity, that this was the song that made her go, no, I'm out. I need to get Gail on the show so we can kind of talk about some of this stuff. But again, Lisa stepped.
Good thing she stopped before she got to Sister.
Right. But she didn't have to sing in that song. She could have sang the background or whatever, but this was different because this was an actual standout part where, there's actual, you're all alone in the vocals doing these lyrics. And I mean, there was also this component. I mean, you remember the 80s. This was like, this is where kind of some of this hardcore Christian, the really hardcore right-wing Christians really started to step in and really started to have impact, which had this residual effect in not only his music. He was just like, okay, well, if we're going to go down this route, then I'm going to be, especially with controversy, okay, I'm going to read the Lord's Prayer in this song. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. He was really trying to figure out ways to kind of push people's buttons. And I think this was just the start of it. And I remember asking specifically about songs like Head and Sister, because when Gail stepped out, when I had Fink on the show, I asked Fink, I said, were you like, Des Dickerson is a prime example of somebody who just said, I can't do this anymore, because he said, I would have my parents at the show or whatever, and they're singing these songs, and I'm just like, I would tell Prince, can we not do this song, or can we not do this song? Can we tone it down on this, because my parents are front row, blah 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 blah. And Prince was like, no, this is the show, and they don't have to be here, type of thing. And I think that was kind of like a breaking point for Des. But now you have Gail stepping out because of this song. It was going to still be a couple more albums before Des was like, all right, I'm done, post Purple Rain. And Fink was like, no, I was fine. And he was in on the joke. Basically, Matt was like, we all thought it was funny. We thought it was funny to say the things that we said, and especially in a scenario where you're looking at the audience and you could tell by their faces, the people that did not know the lyrical content of the song that they were hearing, and you could watch them literally come unraveled. And it was just a humorous thing to watch, to like, oh, they have no idea what they're about to hear, because they're not singing along. They're enjoying it. They're absorbing it. And you could tell they're processing the lyrics as they're coming out of Prince's mouth. And, you know, it's like you're in on the joke, and you know that the punchline's coming, and you're like watching the audience and you're like, oh, this is going to be good, you know, type of thing. And that's kind of how Matt absorbed it. I think that was one of the reasons why he also stayed in the project as long as he did, even beyond the Revolution, was because he was just like, you know, hey, this is Prince's thing, and you know, this is what he wants to do. I'm all about it. Let's ride, you know. And I don't know, you know, for those that aren't familiar with the song Head, I don't know what planet you may be on, but this is like one of those songs.
You're listening to this show.
I mean, if you listen to the show, we're enjoying ourselves. We are in the place of Matt Fink right now, because we are in on the joke. And but it's just about a virgin bride saving herself for her husband to be, and then she meets Prince and performs oral sex, and then marries him instead. You know, it's like
It's just bullshit. It's just about blowjobs, man. That's it. You went way too far.
Well, you know, here's the other thing about that.
Way too literally.
Well, and here's the other thing. Here's the other thing about this, is that the term, and this is I don't know how to put this. The term head was normally I gotta hope my mom's not watching. The term head, yeah, she's probably watching. She's probably definitely turned off by now. Never mind. The term head specifically is something that, when we used it in our terminology, was something that was performed, that a female performed on a male. And so now here is a man singing that song about performing it on a woman, which I had never heard before. I know I Can't Be Alone. I was just like, wait a minute. It was a strange concept to me to have him singing it. I was just like, well, I guess, yeah, there's something that you're doing with your head, so maybe it can apply to both sides of. I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
So what's really, for me, you know, again, I was 12. For me, I think I may have known what the concept of oral sex was. I can't remember for sure. But I do remember that the song, I love the song. So funky. For the longest time, it was my favorite Prince song. Still definitely one of my top songs. I think it's surpassed now by Hide the Bone, but Head was my favorite song forever. And it's again, it's still up there. But I just loved the song. I just loved how funky it was. And then I may have been singing it. And then again, those 17 and 18-year-old girls were living with us at the time. And one of them, the one that I'll call Lisa, she was kind of like, she stayed with us long enough. Her girlfriend kind of came and went, but Lisa stayed with us long enough that she and I were pretty close. It was kind of like having a big sister. And I remember her explaining to me what head was. And I was like, oh, thank God I have a lesbian sister to explain this stuff to me, because she not only explained to me what it was, you know, male and female, but she was like, yeah, it's the same thing for women too. We call it the same thing too. And I was like, all right, cool. Now I know some stuff. I learned a lot of shit that a lot of 12-year-old boys don't learn.
This almost seems like a good segue into the next song, but I'm gonna hold off on going into Sister, just for a moment. Yes, because Brian brings up a good point. He says, I always thought that he was singing it from the woman's Lisa's perspective, but it was just him singing it. So I don't know. Nobody is coming to my defense on that, on the head comment. So maybe it was just me. It was the same.
What's really cool about that song is the call and response, the back and forth, the male and female lead. I mean, Prince, when he wrote his songs, he wrote for he wrote, as different characters in his songs, like a true artist. So, that song, that call and response thing, I mean, I can definitely see where, especially people from the gospel singing would not like that song, because it takes a gospel idea of the call and response and turns it on its head. There, I said it.
Tonight, yeah. All right, let's go on to the next song. I cannot believe we have been doing this so long. This is crazy that we've.
There's only 2 songs left.
True. I'm surprised. It's
and one of them's really short.
That's true. Matter of fact, it's this one that's very, very short, but it's the shortest track, but it's the most controversial, obviously being Sister.
Yeah.
Very, very seriously taboo. When I first heard it, of course, I remember thinking to myself, this is, he's obviously talking about, like brothers and sisters, like, brother, what's up, brother? What's up, sister? But then he just kind of doubles down with incest is everything it's said to be. You're like, oh boy. Wow, he's going there. He's just, and there is a new video that has popped up now, talking about the Prince documentary, and I'll share it on Facebook probably tomorrow, maybe later tonight. I don't know, but there's a new documentary that's from 2 people that have seen the Prince documentary, and they're kind of talking a little bit about some of the other things that are in this movie that we hadn't heard about in that New York Times article, and some of the stuff that I brought up in the documentary special that I did. And apparently there are not one, they're like multiple people that say that this song is true. Now, obviously not true in the sister part of the of it, because there was the only person that this aligns with is Sharon, and that's, age wise, but that's not what they're saying. The truth is, in this documentary, they're saying that apparently when he was 16 and his dad was remarried or something, there was like a stepsister that was part of that. And that she lived in New York City, and that Prince went and actually lived with her in New York City with her. And, for whatever reason, she actually kicked him out, which again kind of feeds to that line, don't put me on the street again line. And that, but there's multiple people that are saying, yeah, he's writing this from a true place, but it's not like his sister. Apparently it's his stepsister. And I don't know which sister that applies to. I don't know. I just don't. It is a weird song, for sure. And it's a shocker song. It's like one of those songs where, again, the band's in on the joke, and you kind of look at the crowd and you're like waiting for that incest line to kind of see, it's kind of like the shocker line of this song. It's like, oh, you're singing about this, that, and the other. Oh no, it's not what it is. Yeah, that's crazy to me. And just wow. I mean, the first time I heard this song, it was just I liked it. It was a very, very punk new wave type of track, but the content was just, it's a lot to absorb and to cherish the song and go, oh, that's my favorite. It's one of those songs that's really, really hard to latch onto and go, yes, that's my go-to. Is it really? Why?
Well, and I think that's exactly, I mean, that's a really good point. And I think he wrote it as, that second side, we haven't talked about it, but the little segue that he has, that little thing, that sound in between the songs. And I kind of feel like Sister was, again, him wanting to throw something in there to catch everybody's attention and freak them out. And we're going back to that rockabilly kind of thing. It's kind of a rockabilly kind of song. And it's really there, I think, for him to throw another shock in there. And, Dirty Mind is a concept album. So it's about, sex and love and taboos. And so what's more taboo than incest?
I mean, right.
Bestiality? I guess that would be the only other choice.
And the album cover that was shot by Alan is masterful because it's him standing in bikini briefs in front of a mattress.
Right.
Just that, the concept of it just in general is just, it's like the whole thing is just like, okay, this is
not even like a full mattress. It's mattress springs.
Mattress springs. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So it lets you know, this isn't just missionary. This is,
this is all in.
That's right.
This is
all we got. It's happening still.
So anyway, super short song, just like it's kind of like the Jack You Off of this album. It's kind of like, okay, we're gonna throw this on there.
Jack You Off is the sister of Controversy.
Right. Exactly. That was the point I was making. It's like sister is the Jack You Off of this album. Yes, that's cool to say it like this. Yeah. So and then we get to the closing track, which is which is a fantastic song, but surprisingly enough, not written by him. The song is called Party Up. Now, for those that don't know the story, the song was actually written by Morris Day, and Prince loved it. Liked it a lot, and said, I really want this song. Obviously, he kind of did it up and kind of made it his, but he kind of went to Morris and said, I like this song. Can I buy it from you? And Morris was like, I don't, can I get credit or whatever? And so Prince kind of came up with another idea and essentially said, okay, I'll give you $10,000 for this song, or I'll put a band together for you. And wisely enough, luckily Morris knew, if I get $10,000, I'm just going to blow it. It's going to be gone. And then everything's gone. He knew that was not the way to go, that he needed to latch onto this train that was Prince starting now. And he said, all right, put together a band for me. And of course, as we all know, that band would end up being The Time. And what's crazy to me, this is a thought process that is kind of going on in my head. We know that there's a lot of history with Morris Day and Prince kind of doing these little jam sessions together, stuff like, they was always kind of did these little jam sessions together that would always, put out these songs like Chlorine Bacon Skin and stuff like that would just come out. My question, that not even a question, it's a consideration, that if Morris Day did not agree to have a band put together for him, would we have ever had a Time?
Yes.
And as a result, but would have been called The Time, what would it have been? Because at that point in time,
wouldn't have mattered to have been the same songs.
Well, I mean, some of those songs didn't exist yet. So it's kind of like, there was always going to be this alter ego personality that was going to be whatever this pimp type of approach that
right.
Prince was going to have.
Yeah.
But, ultimately, would we get Jesse Johnson? Would we get Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis? We know that they were part of the whole Minneapolis scene. And eventually, I think at some point in time, with the way that the record labels were already working and realizing that Prince was a big thing, and they were like, okay, we need to go to Minneapolis and see if there's anything else like this. They were eventually going to stumble upon, the Grand Centrals and these other, bands that were out there. And there was actually a band called The Family, not The Family, but there was a band that was a family. It had Sonny T, and they were like the hardcore original band called The Family. That was and nothing to do with Paul Peterson or any of that. And Jerry Hubbard told that story when he was on here. It was like, these guys were amazing. There were so many bands that were already here in Minneapolis. I think that they would have been discovered, but would it have been The Time? Would it have been, what would it have been? Just what would have been?
Sounds like an episode for What If on Marvel.
There you go. It's a good question, though. It's reality. It could have been.
I think there would have been, I think there would have been some version of it, but yeah, it'd been a little bit different. Yeah. But I didn't even know. I never knew that was the story of how the time got put together. To be honest, I had no idea. That's
it.
I thought all that happened was that Morris had played the drums on Party Up,
and he did.
And but I didn't know that he wrote the song and basically paid Party Up to get the time.
Yes, he just it was a swap. He was just like, I'll either give you 10 grand or I'll put together a band for you. And Morris says, put together a band for me. And that's where we got the time. And I think a lot of those songs were probably in existence or in some form or fashion, because the speed at which Prince wrote music and put stuff together was just like ridiculous. So I mean, these things just kind of just come, and this is probably a result of all this could have been, the time could have been, and probably were starting to be put together as a result of, before this album even dropped, before Dirty Mind even dropped, because this is an agreement that they had to come up with before it gets put on the album. He's like, do I own all the rights to this now, or do I need to put together a band for you? What needs to happen here? And so I never, yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I mean, and it's one of these weird Party Up songs too. Party Up is just a weird party song in general, because it's about war, and specifically, speaking of which, a happy belated 100th birthday to Jimmy Carter. But this song is about Jimmy Carter. It's about, because Jimmy Carter did the reinstatement of the draft registration, which caused a bunch of craziness back in that period. And that's why Party Up was written, was lyrically was like to kind of, fight your own damn war, that, don't drag us into this type of thing. And that's why Party Up was written. And so you've got this song that's kind of making a lot of pretty stiff political statements. And on top of that, gave us what we know now as Morris Day and the Time, which gave us some pretty amazing stuff across the board. I mean, you think about all of the Times albums, and not only that, but all the spin-offs that happened as a result. Thank God, with Jesse Johnson and all the work that Jam and Lewis have done with Janet Jackson and SOS Band. And I mean, there's a lot of great stuff. And of course, Jelly Bean and the Family. And I mean, a lot of great things happened. And I think a lot of it was because of the seed of Party Up, which is pretty friggin' awesome.
Yeah. That song, that's another one of those songs that I feel just is slightly tonally different than the rest of the album. Maybe it's that it's a little less, maybe it has a little bit less of the synthesizer feel to it or something.
That bass line is just a running bass line.
Yeah. And so
it's just like,
I remember when I first heard it and thinking we went from Sister to Party Up, and that I think what Sister is. It's kind of like a transition into Party Up, because Party Up is a little more like what you might hear if you're seeing a live band, I guess, is kind of the way it felt to me when I first heard it. And I felt like it was just slightly tonally different, but it is the perfect end. And the way it's crafted is the perfect way to end that album. And, the album is very definitely a hedonist manifesto. It's, it's have fun, have sex, party, all that shit. Screw going to war. And I remember actually the draft. I remember them reinstating the draft and my mom freaking out about that time. And I remember that when I heard that song, I was like, 12 years old. I was like, yeah, fuck that.
I wasn't. For what I was thinking, I was like, Grandma, we making some more cookies this weekend? I was not thinking about war or anything. And when I get deep, Daddy, please don't beat me. That was too late. He was already gone for 7 years by then. That's really
yeah.
deep.
I mean that song was definitely I dug that song, and was a perfect end for the album. It put the bookend at the end of that album. And this is a short album, especially when you look at what he would do with Purple Rain. Not Purple Rain. Purple Rain's a longer album, but what he would do with 1999. And I think that when you talk about 1999 and Dirty Mind, they're kind of similar. It's just that he goes a little bit further with 1999, and he has the opportunity to expand everything out into that double album.
Well, I mean, he's starting with this album. There was anti-war sentiments all through it. I mean, not only just this. I mean, Party Up was kind of like the jump-off point for a lot of the anti-war. But then you go to Controversy, and right. I mean, Controversy's got Ronnie Talk to Russia.
Ronnie Talk to Russia, yeah.
And then you kind of move, and then you move from there. And Let's Work actually has pieces of that too. And then you go into 1999, and you think, Mommy, why does everybody have a mom? It's just the anti-war sentiment was like really consistent. And of course, when you go, and then he went into Purple Rain, and then that was kind of gone. Then he stopped talking about war. But that period of time, it was between Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan, and just that whole war sentiment and everything politically that was going on at that time, it was just like, God dang, it's just a lot. But anyways, yeah. Great album. 44 years old today. 44 years today. That's just insane to me. That's unreal. So, wow. I can't believe it. All right. So that was the 44-year anniversary tribute that we're going to be doing to Dirty Mind. And today I wanted to do something a little bit different because I keep when I'm doing research, I keep stumbling upon these videos, and I see them, and I'm just like, kind of like America's Funniest Home Videos type of thing, where I see stuff online, and I'm just like, has anybody else seen this? This is insane. And I said, you know what? I'm going to start documenting when I find these crazy ass videos, and I'm going to have a show where I'm just going to just play them, little small clips, and just kind of see what other people think. And is it just insane to me or not? I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. So,
all right,
you ready? Okay. I don't know which one we should start at. I think we should start at, since we're talking about a hedonist manifesto. I think that is the name of the episode, just so we're clear. I'll go over. Let's start with this one here. Have you ever been doing something and then somebody walks into the room and you're like busted? Whatever you were doing, not necessarily that it was wrong.
I was 12, damn it. What'd you expect?
I don't know. It's like if somebody walks into the room and you're in the middle of doing something, whatever it is, you don't have, this is not confession time, but there's no explanation. There's no way to explain your way out of it. When I saw this video, this was a perfect example of that. And this is walking into a very disturbing cat and dog scenario. Let's watch this together. I don't know why that makes me laugh. It's like the dog was like, I'm just chilling, enjoying myself. Then all of a sudden the owner comes in and it's like, oh, so look, I was just on the floor, just chilling. It's right, Rodney. It's not what it looks like.
Wow.
Not what it looks like. So missed it, and we're exactly sure what you were looking at. Let's watch it together one more time. It's only 10 seconds. Let's watch. I don't know why that video. I must have watched that video like 6 times just for the dog's reaction alone, which was just like,
What?
So, what's up? What's going on? All right. So yes, that's it's perfect. Yes.
La, la, la. Yes.
That's perfect. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And Rodney had it perfect. It's not what it looks like.
That's it.
So this next one is kind of funny. Also, there was a soccer team. I don't know where this soccer team is located at, but apparently, according to the back source of this, it is a soccer team that has not scored a goal in 9 games, and the fans decided to take it upon themselves to try to help the team, and decided that they would come up with this solution. Watch this.
I need to get some of those arrows for the next Cardinals game I go to.
It's like, all right, let's do this. We're all going to have arrows, and we're going to run around and give the team direction as to where this ball is supposed to go. Oh my gosh, some of these are just hilarious. So, all right, this next one, you don't have a tattoo, do you?
I could have used that when I was 12 too. What?
You don't have a tattoo, do you?
No.
Yeah, I actually have one tattoo. It's on shoulder, but I saw this little clip. It literally is.
I can't think of anything that I want on my body that's not already there.
Hold on. I gotta think about what you just said slowly. Hold on. Okay, I understand.
Not permanently.
So this video is only 3 seconds long, but apparently this person is getting a tattoo in this tattoo parlor. And I guess this is an extra service that you can pay for. And I actually had to create a still of this video so that you could see what's happening here. But I'm going to go ahead and play the 3-second video. Here's what's going on in this tattoo parlor as they're tattooing this man's legs. 2 women are tattooing this man's legs, and this is what they're doing. That's how short this is. There's 2 women, and they are sucking on this man's toes. I'm going to just put up the screen capture because just so you can see this, I don't understand. I can't process this. It just makes no sense to me. Not first off, for the guy,
I come in with a sketch of that. Like you come in with a little sketch, and did he come in with a sketch of 2 women sucking his toes while he was getting?
Does it? My first question is, does it cost extra?
Of course,
I assume it does. Secondly, how little do you have to think of yourself as that tattoo artist that you're like, or is this on the menu? Is it like,
I think this is just how they do it. Every tattoo parlor is a little bit different.
That may be true. I've only been to one. Well, one that, but I don't remember seeing this on the list. And it's like, if you would like for us to suck your toe while we're giving you the tattoo, that's
called tattoos.
Well, and here's something too. Arlene may have a point. Said maybe they're biting his toes to distract him from the pain of the needles. It didn't look like that's what was happening.
Couldn't just slap him.
I don't know. All right, so this next one's kind of
they can bite his toes, they can pinch his nipples, anything to distract him.
I guess so. Are you familiar with who James Charles is? He's this guy.
Who is this?
James Charles. He is he's a social media personality, and he's cross-dresser. He does a bunch of stuff.
Got a little David Bowie thing going there.
Yeah, he's got his own makeup line and everything. But I have a certain. Look, I'm okay. I'm okay.
You're okay. We're all okay.
you do what you got to do, but here is where I draw the line.
Honestly, looks like one of the characters from Purple Rain. To be perfectly honest,
it does. You're correct. That's right. I in the intro scene, at the very beginning. That's right. I can see that. I can see that. All right. So here's where I draw the line. Apparently, draw the line as far as my capacity to be able to say, do whatever you want to do. That's fine. But let me just play this video clip.
You should play it before you get yourself in trouble.
Yeah. It's just, you know me. I mean, we've had these discussions before where you do you, boo. But on the same note, it's like, come on, man, give me a friggin' break. So he's making an appearance at some place, and he's apparently wearing some type of I'll just play the video. Just watch this and watch his reaction once. Just watch this.
That's what she said. And you know what? What was that? Okay, James.
So he's apparently wearing this outfit, and it comes off, and his chest comes out. I'm not going to say breast. His nipple is exposed. And the way that he gathers and covers up, like, it's just too much for me. I'm just sorry. It's just
they kicked out of the Super Bowl for that.
It's just, I mean, the Kelsey boys can do it up in the press box, and it's okay, and it makes the NFL highlights. But I'm sorry. This may have just been a silly video for me to put up there, but the way that he acts when the thing comes down, like he's just like, oh my God, you saw my nipples. It's like, that's just too much. I'm sorry. I draw the line. I'm out. I'm okay. You do you, boo. I'm out. Okay.
I think you are way too worried about that guy's nipples.
I'm not. He's too worried. That's the problem. He's too worried. That's the issue. Oh yeah. Yeah. There. Have you seen this video that has appeared of Justin Timberlake in concert? And he's walking along
pulling something off of the guy's nipples. He's pulling off the guy we just saw his thing so we can see his nipples.
I'm moving on from that.
Because he's done that a couple of times.
I'm moving on from that part. But he goes to serenade this girl, and she's texting on her phone and is not paying him any mind at all. And then when she finally realizes that she's being serenaded, it's too late. He's already moved on. And it's funny to watch because I love this about this generation. Let's just watch the video.
When you're too busy texting and Miss Justin Timberlake singing Flamjay tipping front of you.
Oops, too late. Oh my God. Oh, I'm sorry. Is your phone that important? If you are front row at a Justin Timberlake concert, if you were on your phone, oh my God.
Hey, I'm at the concert. Yeah, no, I got all dolled up. He hasn't even looked my way the whole damn time.
It's okay. I wish he'd come to this part of the stage. And it's like, oh! Never mind. Oh my God. Okay. All right. This one's kind of sad. This one's a little
right. How can you be front row and be on your phone?
We're going to go into something that's a little bit more sad. This is a man who is apparently heartbroken about this woman, and he's trying to get her back, and he goes out to serenade her, and it doesn't go well. So, and it ends up very, very sad. But it kind of made me laugh. I was sad for a second, but at the same time, that dark, I'm a terrible person, and then and then it made me laugh. So let's watch this together. Here we go.
Te quiero porque quiero que me quieras, porque como tú no hay nadie más bonito en quiero soñar
I feel horrible, but at the same time, like, damn, that's so bad, dude. Oh my God.
At least the boyfriend was enjoying it too. He's like, "This is nice, babe."
Me gusta, señor. Oh my God.
Is he singing to you or me? I don't know.
It's like a little personal serenade.
Oh, that was sad.
That really was bad.
But I'm sorry. Sometimes, you don't go serenade somebody unless you should know they have a boyfriend or not.
Yeah, the way it went.
If you don't, then you don't cry when you find out they do. If you put that much of an emotional investment in someone that you don't even know well enough to know whether they have a boyfriend, I'm sorry.
All right, I only got a couple more for you guys, and then we're going to call it a night. But this next one was really funny to me too, because obviously we are in the middle of a political season here, which is a complete. Yeah,
what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's just
you all you got. King Milton.
Yes.
Okay.
So
it's the only thing I know that's going on right now.
This one I thought was funny, because apparently, as far as Trump is concerned, you either really, really like him and are like unapologetically don't really care anything this man says. You are like sold, like 100%. You're in it, and then there is no middle ground here. And then you have the flip side, which is obviously the Trump haters. And apparently this gentleman took it upon himself. He's a Trump hater. And he took it upon himself. He saw a Trump sign and lost his mind on the side of the road and decided that he was not a fan of that Trump sign. And even with his wife in the car saying, "Honey, I don't know what you're about to do, but
please don't.
Please don't. It's not a good idea." So
what a good wife's supposed to do for you.
let me just say, I'm not telling you how I'm voting. Matter of fact, I'm probably going to sit this one out. I'll just be honest. I just kind of feel like, what's the right? It's whatever. The point of this is that
tell you what the right thing to do is, but whatever.
Yes. I'm not going there because I don't want to turn this into a political thing. But
you're right.
This is an instant karma thing, which is where it's like, if you don't like the opponent, just leave it alone.
I can appreciate. Let's
leave it alone. Let's watch.
This is going to be great. This is going to be great.
This is so ridiculous. You realize that, right?
No, it's not. Fuck Trump. That's what I say.
I know, but I hate Trump too, Chad. But you don't see me out here destroying property. It's probably illegal.
You know what's a fucking crime? To have a fucking Trump dance sign.
Oh my God.
In the main line.
I can't believe you said that. What is wrong with you?
Oh, what is that? Oh my God.
What is that?
Oh my God.
Oh, that's just great. What happened?
Oh my God. Oh!
What?
These fucking people! They're fucking assholes!
I have to get to work. Don't tell me you got a flat.
Look what they did!
Oh, boy.
Fucking assholes!
Well,
I am sorry. That is hilarious. That whoever put out that Trump sign had the foresight to go, you know what somebody's going to do? Somebody's going to come off the road and run over this sign. So I'm going to put a board with nails right underneath the sign.
My favorite part is, well, I hate Trump too, Chad. I hate fucking Trump too, Chad.
That's what I'm saying. No matter how you plan to vote, if you see a sign that is for the person that you're not voting for, just leave it alone. Just leave it
Just let
alone.
it be, yeah.
Drive away.
Agreed.
Drive away.
Well, it's in their yard, so what are you doing? I mean, right?
The funniest part to me,
in their yard, do whatever. Yeah.
that is a funny part. The funny part to me is when he goes and he grabs the board with the nails in it and he goes, these people. These people. Oh my gosh. Anyways,
So he ran over their sign. That was what he was gonna do.
Yeah. Anyway,
I still couldn't exactly tell what the hell he did.
yeah, he basically wanted to run over the sign. He essentially wanted to run over the sign.
Well,
So that's
dumbass.
yes.
I'm sorry. That's just.
And whoever put up the sign was obviously aware that that was going to happen.
Shit, that was like the 6th one they had this week.
Yeah.
There's like a whole line of cars.
Right. It's like, good. That was him. All right. One more for you, which is a practical joke that is hilarious to me, because there's been a lot of people that a lot of carnival ride controllers or people that operate carnival rides. There's so many different things that they can do to kind of freak people out. And this carnival ride guy had the best one. And he probably ruined this date, but let's watch this together, which is the slingshot ride, which we're all familiar with, where you sit in a chair and it slingshots you into the air, which I think is insane ride to get on. But if you're going to do it, let's hope this guy is not running it.
You gotta tighten your seatbelt.
Huh? Who, him?
Who? Way too loose, man. You can slip out. You gotta tighten it full on.
Bro, you were. Oh my God.
No, fully from the bottom.
Bro,
It's like a car seatbelt. Like you just pull it and it'll
this?
Wait,
is mine too loose?
Actually, both of them. Hey, I got both seatbelts completely loose.
So his man card went from like here to non-existent. Oh my God. So anyways,
I feel so sad. But happy and funny laughing at the same time.
it's hilarious. It is hilarious for sure.
But I'm sad for him. And his mama.
And his mama, right? Correct. It was just, it looked like he literally was having like a little a major panic attack where like, even the arms were in that panic attack mode. My God.
He regressed.
Oh my God.
Like
He's
6 years old. Oh, that's terrible.
Exactly. Greg was like, no second date there. Yeah, no second. No second date. That is happened. But yeah, she figured it out, which was great because she actually got her she got her thoughts together and she was like, he got us good.
Yeah, that's right.
But he was not recovering. He was still in the mama state. That was great. That was hilarious.
Like after the first moment that you got shot out there.
Oh my God.
That's when you realized you didn't need your mama anymore.
Insane. All right. As it stands, next week. Oh, I meant to mention. I'm loving these random photos that kind of have been coming up. Somebody had posted a photo that I guess they kept in their private collection for a really long time of Prince and Susan Moonsey roller skating in a park.
Oh wow.
I don't know how you sit on this photo, but apparently this was taken around 1980, around the time of Dirty Mind, matter of fact. So yeah, I love that these pictures just kind of keep popping up. And I know there's so many more out there that people are sitting on, and it's pretty fantastic to kind of see some of these things pop up. Also, the final note of Prince news as well. Again, as I had mentioned before, there is a new video, a short video. It's only like 50 minutes. That's almost an hour, but it's short in the scheme of Funkotopia Live. It's 50 minutes long. And they talk about the documentary. There's two gentlemen who actually have seen the documentary, and they talk about some things that are revealed in the documentary. And I think it may be worth you guys checking out. And because they talk about some things that are in the documentary that are kind of revealing, because we may never let me try this again.
We may never see it.
Ever see this documentary ever again. So I mean, but some of the things that they were talking about in this video are things, the documentary attempt that Kevin Smith had done, because Prince was a big fan of the movie Dogma. For some reason, that's really kind of weird that he was very a religious person and that he was a fan of that, which was kind of like I don't know. But that he got Kevin to do a documentary, and he was working on the documentary, and Prince brought in all these stars to do the documentary, to kind of talk, to be positive. He got all these legendary people like Eric Clapton and Miles Davis and Quincy Jones to come in and actually talk about Prince. And I guess Prince's vision was that they, these legends, these musical legends, were going to be sharing all these positive things about him, and it did not work out that way. And apparently this documentary showcases some of the clips that were taken from Miles Davis and stuff. And it's like, man, I love his work, but boy's got problems type of thing. It's like, oh, that didn't go as planned. So you got all these things, and there was like apparently he had plastic surgery, according to whoever was in the documentary, and we were always under the impression that he never got any of that stuff done. Well, I don't know. It's insane to me, some of these things that are in this documentary, but it after watching this little clip, not this little clip, but this little show of 50 minutes, it's becoming more and more apparent why the estate is like, no. We're just gonna kind of keep this stuff. We're gonna kind of keep this under wraps until we can get this, situated. But I don't know if they're ever gonna get it situated. So there's that. I will post that link to that video so you can actually watch it. But Rob, you doing good?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for being our guest co-host tonight, Mr. Rob Rhythm in the house. He goes back a long time. Anyways, yeah, Lena says, Sam Jennings says, that's not true. That his pics were touched up. Yeah, I believe his pics were touched up. That I believe. But it's going to be interesting to see if we ever see this documentary, because apparently Netflix spent tens of millions of dollars, and the only thing that's keeping this documentary from coming out is its length. That's the only thing that apparently the estate is really holding on to. They need it to go from 9 to 6, and if they get it down to 6, then it's within the contract, because apparently that's the only thing that they're latching onto. That's the only component that they're latching onto that they can. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, all good. Great night. 44 years of Dirty Mind. Awesome. Love it. It's been.
You haven't listened to it in a while? Pick it up again.
Yeah, I've got to go and get it apparently, or just listen to it on Spotify, because I realized I don't know what I thought I had the album at one point in time. I don't know what happened to it. I thought I had the CD at one point in time, and then I realized I don't have that either. Yes, Arlene says the estate isn't happy about various things beyond just the length. Yes, but they are. There's 17 pages of things they're complaining about, but the only thing contractually they can do to keep this documentary from coming out is to latch onto something, and that is the only thing in the contract. From what I understand from the New York Times article, that is the only thing that they can latch onto, because they don't have the final right of refusal. That comes from Ezra and Netflix apparently, but they can check it for factual things and kind of say this, that, or the other, but contractually that's the only thing that's the only piece that they are holding on to right now to kind of keep this from coming out. And hopefully, anyways. Yes, thank you for the comments on the new Patreon station. If you have not joined, you need to join, because the new app is out, and it has been out for a while, and you can actually support Funkatopia by going to patreon.com/Funkatopia. That's patreon.com/Funkatopia, because we have a new radio station. Again, all print station that has some super deep cuts. I'm literally got a collection of a bunch of things that I'm going to be adding. Yes, I did see the comment. I can't remember who said it, but there was a comment that they could not. If you are a Patreon supporter, you have access to this third radio station. Only Patreon supporters have access to this third radio station, but you can go in and you can actually request songs to play. So, which is really cool, because after you request the songs, it will actually tell you the time window that the song is going to play in, which is even cooler, because you don't have to sit and wait. I wonder when it's going to play. It literally gives you the window when it's going to play. Plus, on top of that, you're going to be able to hear this show live starting next week. We're working on that right now, because there's still some weird technical things going on as far as StreamYard talking directly to the station. Plus, on top of that, Prince-giving and Prince-miss are only going to be on this station. It's not going to be on the main free station. It's only going to be on this station. So if you want to get all that stuff, you got to get the new radio station, and you have to be a Patreon supporter, not to mention all the stuff you get with being a Patreon supporter anyways, like the cool music files and all the cool stuff that you get, like the yearly stuff that I'll send out to Patreon supporters on certain levels. So it's very cool. It's not like it's great. And so you want Uptown Radio Plus if you want all the really cool deep tracks. I did a bunch of dance tracks that I've downloaded, a lot of 12-inch dance tracks that I'm adding, a bunch of different B-side, different versions, some stuff that was only released in the UK that was not released over here, a lot of different versions, DJ mixes of stuff. So I've got like a bunch of things that are going to be uploaded and added. And yes, I saw that apparently when you go to request songs, Alexa de Paris, for whatever reason, was not in that list. I don't know why. So I'm going to find out the reasoning for that. But because it's up there, so I don't know why. And so thank you guys so much. And on top of that, it was Elena that was asking for Alexa de Paris. All right, we're gonna figure out. And H. Brian, are you saying Fill You Up Long Stroke is not in there? It should be. But again, you start typing the name and all the songs come up and you can just click it. So it's really cool. Just so you know, DMSR is D.M.S.R. So you can't just type DMSR. It won't pop up. So there are some cases where that happens. So there's that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Next week, I will be doing the album chat for the album For You live. Just for you, live right here, because some of these early album chats are total cluster blanks. You know what's funny when I was doing these album chats is that in the beginning, for whatever reason, even though I'm a digital marketer, that's what I do full time, I was writing stuff down. I literally had like a bunch of pages of notes that I was reading from for these album chats. I'm like, why didn't I put them in digital format? Why didn't I just like type it into a computer and then I can transfer them here and there? So you can literally hear me flipping papers as I'm like, I got to do these album chats over again. This is ridiculous. So it's just anyways. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope you guys had a good time. 44 years of Dirty Mind. Unbelievable. My co-host for the night, Mr. Rob Rhythm. Thank you so much for coming back. I know it's been a long journey. It's been a long time since you were on the show.
2 years, I think.
It's been insane. It's great.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Been trying to get my shit together. Still working on it.
It's good to have you back and coming on. I hope you'll join us again. So that's the other thing too with the co-host part of this. We're going to be doing some rotations, and it's going to be cool. So you're going to be seeing new folks all the time, and it's going to be cool.
Yeah. So you're rotating me out. Got it.
And back in. I don't think you want to sit here for while I do a For You album chat, so you can just sit there and just go, I agree. I mean, I guess you could add commentary to it. It might add some flavor. I mean, I don't care.
I got some flavor.
You do. It's flavor.
Whatever.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week for the For You album chat. There could be some other they could actually have some surprises, because I'm going to reach out to some folks as well that will hopefully join us for the For You album chat, or I could just pull from old interviews, which that's probably easier to do. But we've got interviews with Owen Husney and Chris Moon. We can layer all kinds of stuff in there. So we're going to make sure that we do these album chats right. So all that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. And man, good night, everybody. Hope you had a good time. We will see you next week. Adios, amigos and amigas. Don't sing to people that may have other boyfriends. It's not a good idea.